Hello, everyone. It is 11:30 Central, so we will get started. Thank you for tuning in to today's presentation, Enhancing Health Science Education, Developing Soft Skills Through Scenario-Based Learning. My name is Kelsey, and I will be your moderator for today's presentation. Presenting today, we have Emily Kuhn, who is the Senior Campaign Specialist at Realityworks and has been with us for over 10 years. She collaborates with educators and administrators to understand how they are implementing Realityworks products and programs into their school. Emily is a frequent presenter on topics regarding soft skills and student engagement at education conferences, webinars, and professional development. Along with that, we have her co-presenter, Emily Winnesdorfer, who is the communication specialist here at Realityworks, bringing over 8 years of experience from the sales and marketing team. Through her role, Emily passionately advocates for raising awareness of experiential learning opportunities within career and technical education. Before we get started, I want to cover a couple things. First, today's presentation is being recorded and all attendees will receive a link containing the recording, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint slides and free resources. For those of you attending live today, you will also receive a certificate of completion for attending today's presentation. Keep an eye on your email. You will receive that email within 24 hours after the presentation, and we will have time at the end for Q&A, so feel free to type your questions in the chat or Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Emily.
All right, well, thanks so much for that introduction, Kelsey, and welcome everyone. Thanks again for joining our webinar on soft skills in healthcare. And thanks for folks in the chat for confirming you can hear us. That's always great to establish before the webinar. As many of you know, soft skills are essential for providing better patient care. Soft skills improve collaboration among healthcare teams. They enhance workplace management. They have all sorts of great impacts on your professional life as a healthcare provider. In today's 30-minute session, we are going to take a look at how scenario-based learning can help your health science students master those key employability skills. So we've got our agenda on the screen in front of you now. During today's webinar, we're going to cover a couple of things. We're going to kick things off with a brief introduction of Realityworks, and then we'll dive right in on the importance of health science soft skills. We'll discuss what they are and why they're vital for future healthcare professionals. Then we'll get into those best practices for creating true to life learning experiences. So we're going to share some strategies for developing realistic scenarios that make a significant impact on soft skill development. And then we'll get into those hands-on tools and resources. We'll share some tools that Realityworks offers to help students cultivate empathy and other essential soft skills, and we'll share resources throughout as well. All right, so let's first kick things off with a quick introduction of Realityworks for those of you who aren't familiar with our company. We are an employee-owned company based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and we are all about experiential learning. We create hands-on tools that help students develop job and life skills. We actually got our start over 20 years ago when former NASA engineer Rick Germain created the very first RealCare baby infant simulator. And then he went on to found the company that is now Realityworks. Today, our tools offer those hands-on learning experiences, plus lessons, activities, and assessments. So we really try to give you everything you need to just jump in and start utilizing some awesome hands-on learning aids. That very first RealCare baby infant simulator is still around with some needed adjustments. But now you can look to us for all sorts of tools, many of which are pictured on your screen now. We offer simulators and trainers for agriculture, trade skills, employability skills, and of course, health science and more. So if you haven't already, if you have some time, we encourage you to visit our website and check out all of the awesome hands-on learning aids we now offer. With that, let's dive into today's topic. We'll start by taking a look at today's health science students and some of the qualities that make them unique. So today's health science students, of course, are digital natives. Most of them were born after 1997 and are therefore members of the not millennial generation, but the post-millennial generation, Generation Z. The oldest are in their mid-20s, and the youngest are about the age of my oldest child, which is 11. And they're all considered digital natives because they grew up with technology. They have never known a world without smartphones. And of course, this unique relationship with technology is continuing to shape their experiences, their behaviors, and their expectations in all domains of life, including education. In fact, the US Census Bureau shows that about 20% of the population right now, or about 68 million Americans, belong to Generation Z. And although about a third of them either hold jobs or are self-employed, 51% are students. And the needs of those students are changing the way you teach. That standard classroom model, where an educator stands in front of class and lectures, one of my coworkers said it was that sage on the stage model, that doesn't work as well as it did decades ago. Generation Z students want to learn and succeed, but they will disengage with the discussion if they don't feel connected or if they don't see the relevance. Today's students want to know why they're learning what they are, and they want to know how they'll apply it to the real world. That relevance is super important. Now let's take a look at Generation Z students versus millennials, because it is important to note that these students are different from millennials. They're different in how they learn and how they view the world. Millennials were born into a world without the prevalence of social media and without that computer technology. I know this because I'm an older millennial. I can still very clearly remember not having a cell phone. Millennials like myself witnessed the evolution of technology, while Gen Z students like yours were born and raised immersed in it. And this difference is a bit of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, Gen Zs seem to be experts in technology to the point where they need minimal management. But on the other hand, their generation is characterized by a lack of concentration, which is deeply affected by smartphones and social media trends. So again, that's where that word relevance really comes into play. So here's a chart that I know is small on your screen, but like Kelsey said in the beginning, we'll share these slides afterwards. So all of the resources I'm sharing, you'll have easy access to. I love this chart because it's a great visual breakdown of those generational differences in learning styles. And what I want to highlight for a moment is that final column on the right, Generation Z. Truly, they have that get it now, do it now, learn it mindset. These students prefer visual, interactive learning opportunities, hands-on learning, group work, in person, any activity that is an active learning experience that gives them what they need and helps them make that connection to the real world as quickly as possible. So now that we've taken a look at today's health science students, let's take a little bit to discuss those soft skills. What are health science soft skills and why are they so important? Well, soft skills, of course, are reflective of an individual's personality and disposition. They're the personal attributes that enable people to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. They're considered the bedside manner of the workplace, and really that's any workplace. But in an inherently personal field like healthcare, soft skills can carry just as much weight as the technical skills required for the role. In healthcare fields, soft skills impact so many things like patient care and collaboration between colleagues. Soft skills in healthcare help patients feel valued and dignified, and they can even help your career progression over time. There is a link on the slide in front of you that offers a free poster on health science soft skills. This is an asset that we created that lives on our website, that if you are looking for an opportunity to jumpstart a conversation in your classroom on healthcare soft skills, what they are and why they matter, we encourage you to hop onto our website. There's using the link on your screen, and you can access this infographic as well as a plethora of other infographics anytime. So again, we'll share this link after today's presentation, but this is a great free resource on health science soft skills. So another reason that health science soft skills are particularly important is because they are in demand, and they're more in demand now than ever before. Soft skills, of course, even before the pandemic, topped employer wish lists. And nearly 3 in 4 employers said even before the pandemic that they had a hard time finding graduates with the soft skills their companies need. And this is across the workforce, so healthcare and beyond. Along that same time, about half of academic institutions were reporting that recent graduates lacked the soft skills needed in the workplace today. Now, fast forward to our post-pandemic workforce, and that remains the case, especially in healthcare environments. Undeveloped soft skills can not only impact some of the aspects of care that we just talked about, like patients feeling valued and being able to maintain their dignity, but they can lead to medical errors. They can contribute to unhealthy or unproductive work environments. They can contribute to job satisfaction and those unfavorable patient survey results, which can adversely affect hospital reimbursement. Soft skills and empathy and sensitivity they continue to be in demand. And that's especially worthy to note because demand for healthcare jobs is growing. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that overall employment in healthcare occupations is projected to grow 13% from 2021 through 2031, which is considered much faster than average for all occupations. And this increase, wow, these numbers are amazing. This increase is expected to result in about 2 million new jobs over the next decade. And in addition to those new jobs from growth, opportunities are continuing to arise from the need to replace workers who are leaving their occupations permanently. About 1.9 million job openings each year on average are projected to also come from those growth and replacement needs. The sources for these statistics that we're continuing to share through the webinar are all going to be on your slide, so feel free to dive into that research. But wow, it is so important to ensure that your health science students have both technical and soft skills, because equipping them with those skills is just going to set them up for success in these high demand careers. So now let's take a look at some strategies you can use for developing realistic scenarios that make a significant impact on soft skill development with your health science students. So what actually is scenario-based learning? In the simplest of terms, scenario-based learning is an active learning strategy that uses stories or patient cases as a way to immerse students in real-life situations with the goal of making learning engaging and memorable. So especially for today's Generation Z students, making learning experiences as close to real life as possible, making them engaging and memorable is just going to help your students see the relevancy of what they're learning, which is exactly what today's students crave. Additionally, incorporating a variety of scenarios can also provide real-time feedback, which is crucial to helping today's students understand that content and stay motivated. So what are some tips you can consider as you create scenarios or incorporate scenario-based learning into your classroom? 5 tips for you to consider, and we'll talk about all of these tips individually as well, but consider the elements you need to include, consider when you should use scenario-based learning. We'll talk a little bit about whether you use homegrown scenarios or if you purchase scenarios, what to consider using with your scenarios, what kind of media, and then tips for success, like being patient. So let's take a look at each of these tips individually. So tip number 1, what elements do you need to include in a successful scenario that is truly scenario-based? The first is context. The actual definition of the word context is the circumstances that form the setting for an event, a statement, or an idea. The crux of this is to provide enough detail for your students to understand the situation they're being placed in. If you're trying to figure out if you have too much detail, or if you don't have enough detail, we suggest having a colleague work through your scenario-based learning activity with you. Talk about it as you go through and then debrief afterwards. That's a great way to figure out if you've given your students enough of that context to understand the situation they're being placed in. The next element you want to make sure you include is a decision-making point. Even with the appropriate levels of detail in your context, if your students are not required to decide anything, the activity will seem pointless and you'll lose their engagement. The context should adequately set up your situation. And then your next step should be to figure out, what should your students do? What should they be required to decide? And the final element I want to highlight to include in an activity that is truly scenario based is the clear learning outcome. This last component should be present for all of your activities to help keep you moving in the right direction, to help make sure that you're meeting those objectives and your students are continuing to learn and grow. This is going to be refined quite regularly, of course, but this will help ensure that you are getting what you need from the scenario and that your students are getting what they need from the scenario. Tip number 2 is when. When is it appropriate to use scenario-based learning? Well, a good rule of thumb to answer this question is truly only after that foundational knowledge has been established. You can also use scenario-based learning when you want to examine students' decision-making capabilities. Having students practice verbalizing how and why they make the decisions the way they do can help support the correct decisions they make, and it can really help redirect students when and if they're headed in the wrong direction. You can also use scenario-based learning anytime you can't guarantee that all students will experience a particular incident, like, say, having nursing students focus on a specific code situation. This is a great way to make sure they're at least exposed to the various real-life situations they'll eventually encounter. Another great opportunity for the use of scenario-based learning are the situations that students will often see in their practice. So a little bit of the opposite of the tip I just shared, because in this case, you want to ensure that they show mastery of all of these skills before going out into the real world. In those cases, getting students used to making those decisions in real time is so important. So these are all great opportunities to incorporate scenario-based learning into your classroom. So now the question is, should you create your own scenarios or should you purchase ready-made scenarios? And the answer is really either or both. Creating your own scenarios can be incredibly time-consuming, but the positive side is that you'll have scenarios that are tailored to your course and your specific learning objectives. That's awesome. But if you choose to purchase scenarios, that's fine too. Obviously, you're spending money, but the convenience of ready-made scenarios can lighten the load significantly for instructors. If you do go this route, we suggest making sure that you review the cases to make sure they align with your desired outcomes. And if they don't, that you're able to easily tweak those ready-made scenarios to meet your own objectives more closely. Now, the image on your screen is a little bit of a teaser of our medical mannequin quick scenario set. Stay tuned because we will be showcasing this unique kit later in today's presentation. So, your next tip for using scenarios in your health science classroom is to consider a mix of media. Scenario based learning does not always need to be a full blown, high fidelity simulation scenario. Consider small steps to mix it up. For instance, if you are introducing a patient case, could you record an audio of that patient delivered in first person to help the students get to know them better? This will also personalize the story of the patient and can really engage your students in the activity. On that note, you might consider adding a picture of the patient to go along with your audio message. Remember that today's students are digital natives, so use technology. You could even ask your students to video a response to a scenario instead of writing their responses down, or maybe you record a video to introduce the scenario for your students. And of course, don't get stuck on one type of media, mix it up. Tip number 5 is, in addition to just being patient with the whole process, never stop trying to make good activities any better. Some activities will be a home run the first time you try them, and some might flop. Most will probably fall somewhere in the middle. And that's why it's so important to be constantly evaluating what you're doing in the classroom and seeking opportunities to learn and improve. On that note, I did want to share another free resource with you. We offer a guide on our website that actually includes a whole lot more tips on scenario-based learning in healthcare, but it also includes free activities you can use immediately with mannequins, students, or standardized patients. You can access it anytime by visiting the URL on your screen. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Em, and she's going to share some of the top tools we offer here at Realityworks to help students cultivate empathy and those other essential soft skills in a practical, engaging manner.
All right. Well, thank you, Emily. Let's dive right in. Our first hands-on tool for teaching health science soft skills is the newest addition to our mannequin family, which is our bariatric mannequin. Here's a quick video to show you its size and also some cool product features.
This is our bariatric nursing mannequin. He represents a 350-pound patient. He has very realistic skin and body habitus. When your students get hands-on and are able to assess the patient, they'll discover common skin conditions that are found in this patient population, including a pressure ulcer on his back. Also included with this comes our blood pressure simulator. This opens up the door to conversations about hypertensive issues that are often also found in this patient population.
Awesome. With this unique trainer, students get hands-on experience preparing for challenges associated with bariatric patients. His size allows students to practice working together on tasks like patient transfers and lifting, and using effective communication is essential for students to work together to ensure not only safety for the patient, but for the caregiver as well. From my personal experience as a former CNA that received her CNA license in a health science program in high school, we practiced transfer lifts in class, and it would be on a partner as the same size as us. So it was quite shocking when we started doing clinicals and having the real experience was a lot different than from what we practiced in the classroom. This mannequin really helps bridge that gap. Another valuable activity for developing key soft skills involves students collaborating with another caregiver to perform tasks such as range of motion exercises. During these tasks, students must ensure the patient feels comfortable and maintains dignity. By working together, students learn to provide compassionate and effective care for bariatric patients, building essential skills needed for future roles in healthcare. After completing the task, students can discuss their shared experiences and reflect on things that they would have done differently and review proper techniques. This practice helps students become familiar working with individuals of different body types, reducing those surprises when entering the medical field. Next, so let's talk about our wearable auscultation trainer. Let's take a closer look at some cool features with this wearable trainer.
My favorite feature of our wearable auscultation trainer is that it allows students to practice their patient care skills while learning how to identify heart, lung, and bowel sounds. This wearable trainer has anatomical landmarks built in and can be worn by students, standardized patients, or mannequins, giving you a variety of skills training opportunities. The smart device and app comes with 21 lifelike heart, lung, and bowel sounds that can be heard by using the reality scope attachment and placing it over the correct auscultation site.
As mentioned, with this wearable auscultation trainer, students can immerse themselves in repeated practice of listening to heart, lung, and bowel sounds and learning proper stethoscope placement. This experience not only hones their technical skills, but also builds essential ethical patient care and communication skills. While the trainer can be used on students, standardized patients, and mannequins, an impactful experience comes from having one student wear it while another role plays as the healthcare professional. When going through the scenarios, one student wears the trainer to experience how it feels to be physically examined and articulate to the examiner what is going on. They might explain symptoms like, I've been feeling dizzy lately, or I've been getting really tired just walking to the bathroom. This exercise helps the students articulate what a real patient might feel and understand the vulnerability of being examined. Another student takes on the role as the healthcare professional. This hands on experience enhances their ability to accurately recognize different conditions, such as rhythmia, by listening for specific sounds and asking relevant follow up questions. They practice finding anatomical landmarks through rib palpation and must communicate clearly with the patient to ensure comfort and respect throughout the examination. A- After the scenario, students reflect on their experiences. The student wearing the simulator discusses their challenges of being examined by somebody, the importance of feeling comfortable, and the experience of communicating symptoms to a healthcare professional. The healthcare professional reflects like their realistic experience of working with a live patient, the importance of ethical touch, and the need to be clear and compassionate when communicating with patients. Now let's take a look at our updated Pregnancy Profile 2.0 Obstetric Simulator.
My favorite part of our Pregnancy Profile 2.0 Obstetric Simulator is that it includes an amniotic sac and not one, but two fetal development models. One that represents a fetus at 30 weeks gestation, and one that represents a fetus at 38 weeks gestation. Users experience a weight gain of 25 to 30 pounds, which is about average for the third trimester, as well as elevated body temperature, increased bladder pressure, and fetal movement. They can also practice listening to fetal heart rates, and they get hands-on practice performing Leopold's maneuvers. This simulator is ideal for all genders in a variety of programs to better understand what it's like to be in the third trimester of pregnancy.
Now, with this simulator, students get a deeper understanding of pregnancy for both the caregiver and those going through the experience. A great activity for using this simulator is have one student wear the vest to feel the physical symptoms of third trimester. They'll feel that weight gain, the bladder pressure. They'll feel hot from wearing the vest. And they'll also feel the challenge of having that extra weight and then the rib constrictor on them as well. They'll feel that difficulty breathing. Another student will take on the role as the caretaker, assisting them with, sitting down, getting up, walking. With the simulator's new feature, students can practice Leopold's maneuvers and listening for fetal heartbeat, adding a hands-on aspect to their learning. By using the wearable simulator, students interact with a real person instead of a mannequin, creating that more realistic and empathetic experience. After the activity, they can get together and discuss their experiences. The student who wore the vest shares not only the physical effects they felt, but how it felt to have someone touch their belly or listen to a heartbeat. They emphasize the importance of maintaining a calm demeanor when listening for a heartbeat. How did that experience make them feel? The caretaker reflects on how it felt to assist somebody who is moving a little bit slower, what it takes to perform those tasks on a real person. This open communication allows them to understand each other's perspectives a little bit better, and it's a valuable exercise in empathy, communication, which are essential skills when caring for somebody who is going through pregnancy. Now imagine stepping into the shoes of an elderly patient using our geriatric simulator. Let's take a look at some features that are involved with this simulator.
Students love our geriatric simulator because they get to personally experience the physical and visual challenges many older adults face. By wearing the simulation suit, students feel firsthand limited mobility, such as stooped posture, restricted range of motion, and visual impairments. This experience naturally leads to classroom discussions on empathy towards older adults, patient care challenges, and so much more. The simulator comes with everything you see here, plus a walker and 15 hours of curriculum.
A great activity with this simulator is to have one student put on the geriatric suit, which includes all the weights, the restraints, the glasses with visual impairments, and gloves. They will walk down the halls with assistance from a caretaker, and then while experiencing some physical limitations, such as slower walking, or even challenges of visually not being able to see wearing the visual impairment glasses. They will communicate to their caregiver, "Hey, I need to slow down a little bit," or "Hey, I can't quite read what does that door say?" The second student will take on the role as the caretaker, adjusting to their pace and guiding the elderly patient down the hallway. After completing this activity, they will gather and discuss their perspectives and experiences. The student who wore the suit will describe the physical challenges they face and reflect on the emotional experience of needing assistance. How did it feel to have to rely on somebody for help? The caretaker will share insights into their role in providing assistance and how they adapted to supporting an elderly patient. This activity isn't about understanding the physical limitations of somebody who is aging. It focuses on empathy, communication skills, and patience in caregiving. It offers students valuable insights into the realities of aging and prepares them for compassionate and respectful care in their future roles. As Emily mentioned, you can create your own scenarios, but that can be time consuming. To save some time, here are some top 3 kits and including over hundreds of healthcare scenario soft skills that you can use in your program. First off, we have our Healthcare Interpersonal Skills program. In this program, students get to practice the top soft skills that healthcare employers are looking for. It includes curriculums on 10 lessons on these essential soft skills, 20 engaging student workbooks packed full of activities, and 8 online lessons focused on empathy and communication in healthcare careers. To top it off, we have 10 sets of scenario cards featuring over 20 different situations for students to pair up or work in small groups, building key soft skills needed when working with patients and colleagues. Second, we have our soft skills for caring for patients with intellectual disabilities, mental illness, or PTSD. This program introduces students to working with people with these specific conditions, helping them understand and empathize with these patients. What makes this program unique is it includes 4 MP3 players with tracks that simulate auditory hallucinations and dementia, allowing students to experience what it's like to deal with those challenges. The program also offers online access to curriculum, 20 student workbooks with 40 scenarios, 4 sets of scenario cards featuring 42 different situations. These resources help develop a better understanding and empathy when working with people with these specific disabilities and disorders. Lastly, as Emily mentioned in her previous slide, we have our medical mannequin quick scenario set. This set comes with over 100 different scenarios from pediatric to adults to geriatrics, from skill-based scenarios to scenarios emphasizing skills like communication. There is a huge variety of settings, including clinicals, inpatient and outpatient settings, as well as community sites. The scenarios each include objectives, student roles, setup instructions, brief questions, and simulation scenarios with expected student situations laid out for you. Also included is 5 sets of scenario cards that you can creatively use them in small groups in your classroom, and it also includes printable workbooks. You can find out more about these scenario programs and sets on our website on the links located at the top on your screen. There you will find curriculum overviews, scenario card samples, workbook samples, a few free trials, and more. Now with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Emily to see what you guys can do next.
Well, thank you, Emily, for demonstrating some of those tools and giving us a glimpse into those features and functions. We are ready to wrap up. We've just shared a lot of information, some tips and tricks, plus a bunch of resources. So I did just want to offer a quick summary of the information we talked about and share a couple of tips for what we suggest you do next if you're at all anxious to make use of this information. First, of course, we did share some great free resources, that poster on health science soft skills, and our guide on scenario-based learning in healthcare that does include some great ready-to-use scenarios you can use right away. Those links are also shared on your screen, so feel free to hop on over to our website and access those resources anytime. You can also take a moment if you have time to explore all of the hands-on tools we offer for health science education. Visit our website. You'll see the simulators and trainers that Emily just went over, plus a plethora of other resources you can use to offer those hands-on learning opportunities in your classroom and make those scenarios more realistic and more real, more true to life. Now I'll pass it over to Kelsey, who has been monitoring our chat for questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Emily. While we wait for some questions to roll in, if you are interested in connecting with one of our Realityworks account managers, you can scan the QR code on the screen and we can get you connected with your local rep. They can help start or refresh your own program and request a free quote, ask questions, and more. So now we will jump into some questions here. First question that we had, how much does the bariatric mannequin weigh?
Ooh, that is a good question. It is meant to represent a 350-pound patient, so it is quite hefty. It definitely is designed to give you your students that realistic experience practicing some of the skills that Em highlighted earlier. Mobility, range of motion, patience transfer, and lifting. I do know there is a lift gate required for delivery, so it is quite a heavy mannequin, but we do that intentionally. We wanted to make it as realistic as possible.
Perfect. And speaking of these products that we go over, what kind of age range or secondary versus post-secondary do you suggest for these products?
Gosh, that's a good question. We actually, pretty much every product that we went over in today's presentation is used in both secondary and post-secondary classroom levels, even some middle school, maybe late middle school when with a bent on career exploration. I think it all depends on how you use the tools. Everything comes with curriculum that is designed for instructors to just pick and choose lessons as needed. You certainly don't need to use all the resources that we offer with the product, although you're welcome to do so. And on that note, even the training tools themselves, you can introduce basic care skills with any of those mannequins, for instance, or you can go a little bit further and use them to practice CPR and patient transfer and lifting and things that possibly someone who's a little more into a program might focus on. So it is definitely intended for a variety, and they're meant to be used across a variety of ages and programs.
Awesome. Well, at this time, Emily, I don't see any more questions.
All right. Well, thanks, Kelsey, and thanks everyone for attending, taking the time today. We hope you found the information valuable. Keep an eye on your inbox because we will be following up today's presentation with that certificate of completion for attendees, a copy of the recording, and the slides as well, so you can access all of these great resources. And thanks again.